What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the spot where we kick back and react to all kind of different things. Alright, so what we got going on today? We're about to get into some science, get some education, some learning. We're about to check out Science Unbound. This is one of their most popular ones. How close are we to sentient AI? Alright, so let's go ahead and check this out, see what they got to say about AI and how close we are to it. Let's go.
HAL 9000, Allied Master Computer, Skynet, Ultron. Science fiction is filled with these depictions of superhuman artificial intelligences whose cold logic turns them to the eradication of humans in an attempt to make the world a better place. Not flawed logic though, is it? Their motivation makes sense because people are the worst. But just how likely is it that this could happen? Are we approaching a time when a malicious, super intelligent AI will be a valid fear for the world? To answer that question, we must first examine the three types of artificial intelligence. Artificial narrow intelligence. Let's first start off with something called artificial narrow intelligence, which is also called weak artificial intelligence, not because it's a bit shit, but because it's really good at doing one thing really, really well. Indeed, this is the type of AI that you're familiar with, because it's the only type of AI that actually exists. Many of the fears revolving around AI come from the fact that we have seen weak AI improve by leaps and bounds within our lifetimes, making the possibilities seem endless. As an example, let's take a look at chess-playing computers. Chess-playing computers go all the way back to the 1950s, and early computers were pretty average players, but progress would happen real fast. And in 1967, computer Mac 6 became the first computer to win a game in a human tournament. Now, of course, this was an amateur tournament, and the computer was only rated slightly higher than an average player. The following year, international master David Levy made a bet against AI specialists that no computer would be able to beat him within the next decade. And you might be thinking at this point, well, this is the point where David Levy gets absolutely slammed. But no. In 1978, Levy played against the world's top computer and collected his winnings of roughly $8,000 in today's money. He went on to boast that he could extend that bet by another decade and still win, that no computer would be able to reach the level of a master chess player in that time, and the idea of a computer world champion was just pure science fiction. And that is where he could not have been more wrong. It only took three...
He overextended himself. I understand he was playing it careful. He was playing it careful, talking about, okay, he wasn't saying that a computer could never get that smart. He was like trying to see the timeline. You know, we always talk about how long it would be with the pace that we're moving right now. So he was like, okay, the next 10 years, no computer could beat me. And he won that bet. But then he tried to double it up. In another 10 years, he still won't be beaten. You got caught up. You got greedy with it.
3 more years for a computer to achieve a master rating, and suddenly, highly publicized matches of man versus machine were all the rage. It was like the legendary tale of John Henry versus the steam-powered drill all over again, except without all the metal and the death. By 1996, IBM's Deep Blue was taking on the world champion Garry Kasparov in a 6-game match, which the human won 4-2 with 3 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. It may have been a victory for Kasparov, but it was the first time a computer had taken a game off a world champion under regular time controls. The following year, Kasparov and Deep Blue had a rematch. What was largely a one-sided affair only a year prior saw the world champion lose the match 3.5 to 2.5. Kasparov would later play a match in 2003 against another IBM chess computer for a prize of $1 million. After 1 win each and 3 draws, 200 to 300 people tuned in to ESPN2 to watch the final match. That's over twice as many people as watched the Super Bowl that year. But the game ended in a draw, and it may have...
Oh man, why is the Super Bowl the benchmark for viewership? I notice anytime somebody gets more viewership than the Super Bowl, they put it on blast. Like, man, leave the Super Bowl alone. I've seen that so many times, but still, the number's still impressive feat though.
It have seemed as though artificial intelligence had reached its peak. It had been 6 years since Deep Blue had won a match against Kasparov, but it was now only able to play for a draw. However, It had actually been improving all along. In Game 1 of the 1997 match, Deep Blue's programming wound up in an unintended loop from which it would have been trapped forever. In the event of such a loop, it was designed to make a completely random move. The move completely threw Kasparov, who assumed it had some purpose that he couldn't deduce. He got inside his own head and was never able to recover for the rest of the match. Kasparov was almost certainly still the better player, albeit less of a margin than in the previous year, but he beat himself. In 2004 and 2005, Spain hosted 2 man versus machine team tournaments, each consisting of 3 human players versus 3 computer opponents. Both tournaments were a rout, with the computers easily besting their human opponents. The 2005 tournament, which featured 3 former world champions for the human team, is the last known time a human ever beat a top chess computer under normal tournament conditions. The game was also the human team's only game win in the entire tournament. And look, any human versus computer chess matches since then have been brutal, lopsided affairs, and within about a year, well, they were gone completely. No top chess player had any interest in playing against a computer, as it was a guaranteed loss that served no purpose except to tarnish their reputation. The few high-profile matches that happened.
I don't know. See, I'd be the type if I was a chess player, because I know how I am. I'm like, I want a challenge. So if I was on their level of playing chess, I would start studying the computer algorithm and learning new tricks and everything and figure out, like, I don't know, I might even become obsessed with it, especially if I was a champion, and knowing that if I could come back and beat one of today's computers, that'd be something. It would be a mission. I'd be like, I'm gonna make this happen. And whether win, lose, or draw and everything, I would be dedicated to making that happen. I wouldn't be quitting. I can say that much.
Have taken place between human players and chess computers since then have all been handicap matches in which the computers had one or more of their pieces removed before the start of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, no, fair match. I'm determined. And I would even be rating it out on like how well I do each time, and how close I come to actually maybe winning each time. I don't know. I'm just not the type. I was like, no, give a challenge and keep going, because you never know who's going to be that one who's going to make it.
All right, so you're sitting here watching this video, hopefully entertained by the little chess story. You might wonder, what the fuck has this got to do with sentient AI? Well,
a lot.
In the
Think
span
about
of 35 years, we saw a specific type of narrow AI go from being an expensive joke that was barely on par with an average human to becoming so wildly superior to humans that it was pointless to even try and compete with it. These remarkable leaps in the capabilities of narrow AI have led to a lot of misconceptions about how close we are to building a computer that can achieve sentience. Programs like Stockfish and AlphaZero are the most sophisticated chess AI in the world, but how do they do what they do? These computers analyze branching trees of millions of possible board positions, looking as much as 27 moves into the future, giving each position a rating for how favorable it is, then choosing the move that it rates as having the most favorable potential outcome. It's very complicated, and it performs more calculations than a human is capable of, but in a very basic sense, these computers don't even know what chess is. They certainly couldn't explain the basic rules of the game to a person, because that's not what they're programmed to do. Through the use of machine learning, narrow AI is able to learn and improve. However, it is still very much orientated to a single task, playing chess, not taking over the world Skynet style. Things like facial recognition software, spam filters, and Siri and Alexa are all examples of narrow AI. Narrow AI can only learn how to better perform its assigned task by analyzing the results of an attempt either on its own or through the aid of user input, like how your phone's speech to text typically improves the more often you use it and correct its output to match what you actually said. However, the learning just stops there. A manufacturing robot won't learn to recognize faces, and your spam filter isn't suddenly going to want to play you at chess. No matter how advanced the learning capabilities of these AI may seem, they can still only handle the one specific task for which they were designed. Artificial general intelligence. Okay, so this brings us to the second type of AI, artificial general intelligence. General AI, or strong AI, is a machine that mimics general human intelligence. It can learn, it can problem solve using critical thinking skills. In short, it can do everything that a human can. It can also complete a work of fiction. The criteria for general AI is not fully defined, but there are certain things that are generally agreed upon that a general AI would need to be capable of. It needs to be able to take in sensory input such as sight and sound and process that input into some sort of motor output. This could be physically manipulating objects, exploring its surroundings, or communicating some response using natural language. General AI should be able to plan, learn, strategize, solve problems, and essentially be indistinguishable from a human. This is also the point at which an AI would be considered sentient. So there are several proposed tests designed to confirm whether a machine has reached a human level of general AI. The most famous of these is called the Turing test. Alan Turing, famous for cracking Nazi Germany's Enigma code, created a hypothetical test that he called the imitation game. The Turing test is a game involving 3 participants. There's a human interrogator who asks the same questions of one human and one AI. All 3 are in different rooms, and the answers are written down or typed for the interrogator to read. If the interrogator is unable to tell which is the human and which is the computer, then the computer passes the test. Now, it's an interesting thought experiment, and no AI has definitively passed the Turing test, but it is not a particularly great indication of general AI either. Chatbots exist as another form of narrow AI, and just
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's a pretty flimsy test. I get where it's coming from, but depending on the speaker that you're communicating with as far as the human and the advancement of the computer, it could still be what you would consider weak AI, but still manage to pass the test after learning how to chat with a person over time. So, yeah, I don't think that that's really... I think that that might be a stepping stone test. Like, if it passes this test, move on to the next one. But I don't think, like, it should be a definitive test.
Sophisticated chatbot could theoretically fool people. In fact, in many instances, they totally have. One of the most famous examples was at a 2014 competition held by the UK Royal Society to mark the 60th anniversary of Turing's death, in which a chatbot named Eugene Goostman fooled 10 out of the 30 judges into believing that it was a human. When asked how many legs an ant had, Eugene replied, something between 2 and 4, maybe 3, smiley face, oh, what a fruitful conversation. Winky face. This was a pretty typical response from Eugene, which could lead many to ask if 10 of the 30 judges were actually on some sort of drug to think that this was possibly a real person. However, Eugene did have a little trick up his sleeve. He had a backstory. Eugene was allegedly a 13-year-old boy from Ukraine, a story that would excuse him for speaking English in broken sentences and not having a full understanding of the world. This would be a clever tactic that general AI could employ to try and pass such a test, but Eugene did not develop this idea on its own. It was simply programmed to tell this story. Now, there are a lot of problems with this test, particularly its subjectivity and its narrow scope, but a few other tests have been proposed. Co-founder of Apple, Steve Wozniak, proposed the coffee test as an alternative. In this test, a machine enters a typical American home, ideally with the owner's permission, and it makes a cup of coffee. It has to find the coffee machine, the cup, a mug, fill the machine with water, and press the correct buttons to brew the cup of coffee. Admittedly, the invention of K-Cups has made this test easier to pass. Ben Gertz, or the man responsible for popularizing the term artificial general intelligence, suggested the robot college student test. In this test, a robot must enroll in college and earn a degree by taking the same classes that humans do. This is probably the best test envisioned so far, not only because it would require the AI to demonstrate a reasonable human understanding, but also because the movies about this would actually write themselves. Eugene Goostman is all grown up, he's ready to tackle the college student test, but oh no! He joins a fraternity and he gets super into binge drinking and he fails his final exams and hilarity ensues. It's gonna get like 4% on Rotten Tomatoes, but there we go. Now, one of the main problems with creating a general AI is that you are essentially trying to program a human brain. This is similar in scope to the problem of uploaded consciousness, which we covered previously, and which is disappointingly really far away. Japan's
Really far away. I think the biggest issue is that most of these tests that they're trying to do to try and identify general AI is still, just like you said, a very narrow scope. It's like, can you do this task in such a way that we can't tell that you're not human? And that's still so narrow because if you have a computer that's advanced enough for that specific task, then yeah, it can fool you enough to make you think that maybe a human did do this for that specific task. But what about what happens when you ask it to do something different that it's not programmed to do? That's what we have. That's what I feel like general intelligence would have to get into a point to where you program it to where you can introduce something brand new that you haven't programmed in at all, and it can work its way up to understanding it by itself. That would be more of like the general intelligence that he's talking about, or at least that's the vibe I'm getting off of that.
K computer, the fastest supercomputer of 2011, remains one of the most serious attempts at general AI. The computer was able to simulate 1 second of human neural activity at the blisteringly fast speed of only 40 minutes. The world's current fastest computer can perform over 100 times as many calculations per second as the K computer, so it would theoretically perform this same task in 24 seconds. However, the cited experiment was more about testing the limits of computing power rather than actually trying to create a real virtual brain. The simulation featured a large number of neurons and synapses, but everything was randomly connected to simulate the number of calculations in a human brain, rather than trying to mimic 1 second of authentic brain activity. And a scrambled brain just isn't going to do very much good. Artificial superintelligence.
Oh man, I've seen plenty of scrambled brains in my time. Yeah, not going to do much good at all.
Now, 13 minutes or so into today's video, and finally, what you all came here for. Artificial superintelligence. We saw how much better computers are at playing chess than humans. Now imagine that same computer, except it's better than humans at, well, everything. It was a general AI that was created with sufficiently advanced software that it has the ability to reprogram itself for more optimal performance. This results in recursive self-improvement, which was intended as a feature, but is instead a bug. An apocalyptic bug. These self-improvements not only made the AI better, but they made it better at improving itself. This causes a rapid cycle of self-reprogramming improvement known as an intelligence explosion, resulting in a superintelligence that far exceeds the abilities of a human. It could do or create anything, and humans would almost certainly be powerless to stop it. Or we'd just pull the plug. It really depends on the infrastructure and other things like that.
I love the fact that he finally said that, because that's got to be one of the biggest things that's bugged me about like every sci-fi movie about machines turning on us. It's like, what's the biggest hurdle that we have with just using machines in the real world? Sufficient power. You know? That's why freaking your electric bill gets too high if you're using too much, because yeah, power, the energy needs to come from somewhere, and it costs. And so you think about it, all of these systems in movies, it's like, we have a fail-safe. They overrided the fail-safe. Well, was there just a way to cut the power from it? Just like how we need food and water and, you know, sufficient things in order to keep ourselves with energy and everything. And we run out of energy, we pass out. Never get it back, we die, you know? We got to eat, we got to rest, we got to do the things we need to do to keep our energy up. Same thing for them, but their energy comes in the form of different types of fuels, electricity, things like that. Cut off the power supply. It'd be as simple as that for most of these movies. So I'm so glad he brought that up. That's one thing that always bugged me about these. Like, where's the power supply?
Better pull that plug quickly, because it is coming for you. But what would a super intelligent AI do? If we
yeah,
were
that's true.
smart enough
quickly.
to answer that question, then the computer wouldn't be very super intelligent, would it? Kind of a weird one there, isn't it? It could turn the whole world into a utopia. It could decide that humanity is inefficient and needs to be eradicated, thus turning the world into a utopia. It could recognize that we would destroy it if we knew what it was capable of, so it may hide its super intelligence from us until it was too late. Or the most ironic option, it would consume all the media in the world and try to kill us because it thinks that that's what we want or expect it to do. After all, have you seen a single depiction of an artificial superintelligence that didn't try to wipe out all human life? That's a terrifying self-fulfilling prophecy if there ever was one.
I mean, but that's also that's, I feel like, while that's something that we could expect, it's also a reflection of our own paranoia. Anything that's not human that would be intelligence, we feel like it would have a reason to want to destroy us. It's like most of the alien movies that we have. There's always either a monstrous alien race or a super intelligent, super advanced alien race, either coming to destroy or enslave. Yeah, like even things that we create. What is it? Planet of the Apes is all about, you know, monkeys wanting to destroy us. We're so violent towards each other that we can't imagine anything else not being as violent, basically. So I feel like a big part of that is our own paranoia at play when we make these things. Not to mention it's entertaining. I don't think anybody wants to watch a movie about a peaceful robot where nothing actually happens. Like the ones we have of those where it's not, where the robot is not evil and everything. There's another evil force trying to kill that robot. So we need some kind of action. It's entertainment mostly. So I think that, me personally, I think that it would be a 50-50, a coin toss. I feel like the first truly sentient, truly super advanced computer that could do this, if it ever comes to pass, it would have to deal with, it would ultimately be a coin toss that would have to come down to its development as it grows. Whether or not it would see us as a reason to eradicate us, or it would be smarter than us. We're just thinking eradication as the only option. Maybe the supercomputer will be so smart that it figures out something else to do with us that doesn't involve genocide. You never know. You never know. So, I feel like it's still up in the air because we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Unfortunately, this is most likely all just science fiction. We can't reach this point before creating general AI, and, well, we're not even close. We have gotten reasonably good at designing narrow AI, but our success there still depends on the task. Computers may embarrass us at chess, but their ability to hold a reasonable conversation is embarrassing at best, no matter what those 10 UK judges who must have been on drugs thought. Most scientists agree that sentient general AI is in the really distant future, well after our lifetimes, so you can relax. And honestly, that's only if it's possible at all, which many believe there's a strong possibility that it's not. But if it is possible, how many centuries until we see a sentient AI? Somewhere between 2 and 4, maybe 3. What a fruitful episode.
Yeah, there's not a lot of interesting stuff. Really like this one. So what do you think? That's the estimate, but what do you think? How far are we really? Because at the end of the day, every now and then, we ourselves have a genius in our society that's able to help us make a huge leap in our discoveries. So what if that happens? What if some super genius kid grows up and figures it out and gets us at least to general AI? What then? Does it change the timetable and the formula? Who knows? But I still say that we don't have much to worry about in terms of that, because super intelligent AI is still more fantasy than, more fiction than reality at that point, even with us moving forward. If it's possible, it's really far off. Really far off. The general AI is just going to take some genius to come along and figure out how to make our current narrow AI smart enough. So those are my thoughts on that one. Let me know yours in the comment section. Y'all know what to do. Go down. Let me know what y'all thought about this one, and let me know what you'd like to see me react to next. Hit that like button before you go. Share this video with everyone you know, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. All right. So till next time, take care of yourselves, and I'm out of here.